All right, so one of the more popular questions that comes up, especially from e-learning designers in development, is around mixing and matching, mixing and combining fonts. And the reason we want to do that, right, is we're trying to draw some kind of emphasis, draw focus to our text, maybe a specific word or a group of words on our slide. It's less for design reasons as much as it is as a tool and a means of guiding the learner through the slide. So if you're new to fonts or typography and you're less comfortable, choosing and mixing them, one of the easiest ways, one of the almost the safest ways, is just by mixing fonts from the same type family. So what we mean by this is here's an example of Bodoni, single typeface, but look at all the variations within that. So when you're talking about mixing fonts, well, the best and easiest, safest place is just mix fonts from the same type family. They were all designed by the same designer. They're all meant to kind of go together. So, for example, we have the Bodoni book and the Roman. These would be great body fonts, right, for the body text. But then you can combine them with the bold or the poster size for display or heading type, and you now have a really good contrast using just a single type family. The only time you could go wrong or might create some unintended distractions for your learners if you actually mix the fonts that are too similar. And that's probably the most important rule when it comes to mixing is go for contrast, right? So if I mixed, say, the book and the Roman versions together, that's not going to give me a lot of contrast. It actually might look like it's more of a rendering problem if I combine those two. But if I combine the book version with the bold condensed, that works, or with the poster size. So if you're going to mix, whether it's the same type family or outside and combine various type families, go for that contrast. Go for fonts that look distinct from one another rather than that are similar to one another. So let's take a look at a couple examples because I know a lot of our users don't have access to, say, designer fonts or custom fonts, or just kind of working off of system fonts and are still trying to look for ways to achieve that emphasis. So back to working with the same type family. These are just our basic system fonts right here. We have Trebuchet and then Verdana up here. So the easiest way to achieve emphasis when you're working with limited fonts is just work with some style and scale changes. So in this case, we just took Verdana and used Verdana Bold and put it on as a heading font with our Verdana Regular. So scale and style are two different ways to also create that emphasis. And I also have another example down here, same font right here as Verdana, but we also used this time color as a tool for also creating some emphasis. Let me zoom in here real quick. So in this case, we still had the Verdana Bold. We made the heading style at 18, and then we're working with 12-point body text. And then we went ahead and changed the color for this key word right down here. But we also used the bold version of Verdana. So we're actually able to achieve a lot of different means of emphasis working with a single typeface. Now, as you get more comfortable with fonts or as you start to have access to a greater variety of them, you can really start mixing and matching the different type styles. And we'll cover those in future videos. But take a look at your existing system fonts or the fonts that you have available and look at mixing color, size, or scale as a means of drawing focus to certain words, creating that emphasis, and working really with a single typeface.